That's what it's called too.
Just making sure.
And it hoops when you hold it upside down too long.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it. Oh, it scared me to death. So cute. Scared me to death. I'm so shocked I didn't drop it.
Hopefully I like that. I was joking on him.
Or maybe it was just kind of like, because the other one didn't do that at me, but that one did. It went. That was.
That's really funny.
We're live on YouTube.
Leslie, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. No reverberations?
It sounds echoey, like you're in a echo chamber, but that's why I'm suggesting I don't think we have the ultimate solution, because the two places that I work that didn't have this problem on Zoom had individual mics.
Right, but we still have to put up the acoustic panels. That's the last piece, because that sound well, it's bouncing around in the sound well too. And as soon as John gets that plan, we'll get them put up.
That'll help. It'd be nice. Yeah.
So the clerk would like to put in a vote of confidence for the our videos. They are the cameras.
Oh,
The cameras and how they zoom in, it really helps me. Like, some of you just do not use body language when you talk. And so it's zooming in when I'm trying to figure out who's saying something. Sometimes it does get garbled. Beautiful, love it.
He's on, he's right outside.
oh, he's hobbling in. John speed now.
We've got 50 seconds.
Beat it with a wheelchair.
You just all walk out, meet him halfway.
That was surprising, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah, they're coming to take me away.
Oh.
That should be our theme song.
Yes, it should be our theme song. Get over the meetings with that. Oh. Oh, wait, I have a problem.
Really?
Our owls should be looking at each other.
Oh, no.
I learned this from owl tricks.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, they're flashing, so they notice something. Yeah, they noticed a change.
They must look at each other to see.
There. Nope. Don't like it. Don't like it.
Are they freaking you out, Morgan?
See, now they're both looking at me.
All right, John, we're gonna start the meeting. All right, so I call this meeting to order. Let's all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And we'll have a roll call, please, Ms. Clerk.
Mayor Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Marshall.
Present.
Trustee Stelter.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Valentine. Trustee McGinnis.
Here.
Trustee Mason.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Can we get your approval?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that moves.
I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
We include the appointment of the mayor pro tem at our next meeting, including the committee.
Okay, do you have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Well, there were two comments made at the last meeting that made me start to think about that appointment. One comment denigrated local contractor. The second comment was about we don't know where our money is. I think those two comments do not reflect well on the town. And I think it's time to start looking for a transition person to be our new mayor pro tem.
Okay, any other discussion?
I don't feel good about that.
Okay.
That's fine. Trustee?
Aye.
All right.
Apologies. What was the motion?
That we add the mayor pro tem to our list of committee assignments when we have put it on our next agenda. That's part of our next agenda.
Dave wants me not to be there.
All right, even though this is a special meeting, and even though we are just us, nobody else, we're still going to abide by Robert's rules. You trustee, and you will raise your hand and be recognized,
Sure.
okay? All right, trustee Markle.
All right, yeah, I appreciate his position and the input that we received from Leslie as well. I think that what might be best is if I just replay the YouTube videos of the description of our problems and the language that was used then. And regarding the contract, I didn't integrate anybody. I'd like to see a specific, I want you to pull YouTube and tell me what language was integrated.
All right, we will hold this discussion, that piece of this discussion for the meeting on Tuesday, okay? So the motion is to put this on the agenda along with the committee appointments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
All right, that motion passes. All right, Ms. Klusmeyer, you had something you wanted to say?
Sure. So this weekend, we received an email from Mr. Bruner that was so out of line that I will tell you that I was quite upset all weekend. So I'm going to read you. He issued some edicts to the staff, including demanding that our clerk do some work for him. And the edicts were, at the point of the open meetings law is to specifically to end this kind of hocus pocus about what is going on in executive session. The agenda item is unlawfully vague. There is no reason not to name the employee. The separation agreement should be available for the public to read before a board vote. There should be public comment before a board vote, and there is going to be a forensic audit. So I want to point out, first of all, that Mr. Bruner continually shows an utter lack of understanding about municipal and state law and labor law that governs our appropriate and ethical behavior in government. And he seems to think that he has become the person who issues this kind of information as if nobody else knows this, only he knows that there are laws that apply to us that don't apply. So that's the first problem. The second email accused the staff of crimes, and the staff that he accused of crimes are all non-management staff. So basically what he did was accuse all of the staff of crimes, because if you've got non-management staff committing crimes, that means nobody's doing their job. And it's totally fallacious. I mean, the very staff members that he accused were very involved in this investigation and were key parts of the investigation to give us facts on which we based our evaluation. And they were interviewed not only by staff members, but by outside professionals. So, and these lies keep getting repeated, even though he has heard and read factual information. So we talked about this morning, and I really think the town has to stand up for itself. This is ridiculous, because what's happening is he controls the narrative. If the town doesn't speak up for itself and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and here are the facts, he's controlling the narrative in the community. They're not getting the information. I know that nobody's there at this meeting tonight, but I'm repeating this anyway, because I think it's important to have on the record for this meeting. The other problem that I have is the hypocrisy that he has started with this idea that the town has doubled their budget, but we've doubled our budget to pay for expert public works staff and addressing the very concerns of the referendum that he got passed by the voters. I think the town has acknowledged the real problems that he's brought up and is moving forward on them, and that costs money. But the other part is that he keeps suggesting things that cause the town to have to spend more money for things it doesn't need to spend money on. And one of those things is this thing that there will be a forensic audit. Nobody does forensic audits when there's no evidence of a crime. That's what forensic auditors are for. They're in a lawsuit, or they're in, when there's a problem with a crime. So Nick, we met this morning. Nick felt very strongly that we needed to respond to these emails. And Mary's going to read a statement by him, and then I have a few more statements to make.
Okay. When requested by a citizen, the town includes citizen correspondence in board meeting packets. The town is not legally obligated to do so, nor is the town staff required to fulfill specific citizen requests for the dissemination of information. Mr. Bruner has the same rights as other members of the public. Mr. Bruner is not entitled to, nor will receive any special treatment, no matter how loud his voice. Like other members of the public, Mr. Bruner may submit comments for inclusion in meeting packets and make comments in public meetings at the appropriate time. However, Mr. Bruner's orders and demands directed to the town staff and Mr. Bruner's bullying tactics will not be tolerated and will be ignored. Mr. Bruner is entitled to his opinion regarding the town's financial system. However, his statements on the topic have served only to interfere with the efforts of the town has taken to address the issues. Each moment the town takes to respond to his statements and behavior is a moment lost in addressing the issues with the town's financial accounting system. The town is not simply relying on the statements of the interim town administrator that there is no indication of fraud and therefore nothing to see here, as he states. Rather, the town is relying on careful evaluation of the town's financial auditing system or accounting system by the interim town administrator and two separate independent contractors, each of whom have specialized training, experience, and intimate knowledge of the government fiscal affairs, and who are much better situated than he is to make a rational choice on whether to commit the town's limited resources to a forensic audit of the town's financial system. As stated several times in response to his various statements on the subject, the town will conduct a forensic audit of the town's financial system if, and only if, the town uncovers evidence that there has been a crime amounting to probable cause. As further detailed in the town's letter rejecting Mr. Bruner's recent citizens initiative petition, the town administration is best suited to determine the proper course of action, if any. As a citizen, Mr. Bruner, you do not have the requisite experience to even recommend such a course, much less the right to compel the town to do so. Mr. Bruner's statements regarding the propriety of the executive session are similarly misguided. Indeed, the settlement amount, if approved by the board, will be a public record. However, that does not give Mr. Bruner, a citizen, the right to participate in the contract negotiations. The town board has the authority to enter into an executive session for the purpose of determining negotiation strategy and instructing negotiators. Considering a draft of the employee separation agreement in open session would expose that strategy, compromise the town's negotiating leverage, and thus could lead to a higher dollar amount settlement figure to be borne ultimately by the taxpayers. It would thus be irresponsible not to convene in executive session. The town is not, as Mr. Bruner says, strategizing containment of a scandal. It is Mr. Bruner's statements, which are based not in fact, but on baseless conspiracy theories that are irresponsible. As a particularly vocal citizen, Mr. Bruner should consider his own responsibility to speak truths and refrain from spreading baseless conspiracy theories that promote mistrust in the town government. Ms. Guzman.
And so in parting, the town administrator has a responsibility to protect the staff from harassment and bullying and all this kind of stuff that he has inflicted on the staff. And in the future, I'm going to take a strong stand in writing and refute that in public. This has got to stop. It's crazy what's going on here. It's so ironic that the town is moving forward and Mr. Brunner seems to be fighting that we're the way we were 5 years ago. That's not true. And it's really concerning to me. And so I also am going to ask him to stop asserting that the staff is incompetent. That's ridiculous. You've got a great staff. What I'd asked from Mr. Brunner in the beginning is review the packet, read the material in the packet, listen to the meeting. If you don't remember what was said at the meeting, go back and listen to it, because we've been telling the truth and he doesn't want to hear it. And I really ask that he stop manipulating the public to have them believe things that are not true, that he's made up. And so that's basically what I have to say. But what's going on right now is not acceptable. And we've got to, you guys have worked so hard to create civil and meetings where people feel comfortable to be able to come up with their own opinions about things and ask questions of staff and all that, those important things. And this kind of slandering is ridiculous. So that's my 2 cents. And I don't really have anything else to say, but this has been very upsetting.
Okay. Yes, trustee Stelling.
I have an announcement. I was going through my email just before I came to the meeting, my private email, and there was an attempted ex parte communication with Mr. Brunner. He sent an email. I have not opened it. I will not open it, and I will delete it when I get home. I didn't have time when I was there. So that's happening. My private email is my private email. It has nothing to do with the town. My town email is on the town's website, and I guess that's a different thing. But I want a record of anything that's communicated with me. If it goes through the town has it. If it's in my private email, it is not. So communicating with me and my private email is not going to happen.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Mark.
Yeah, no, I did the same phenomenon. I sent the first email, I guess, contact my personal, but since Sam said that she sent it, she followed up, she sent it to everybody. I didn't see a problem with
I didn't bother to open it because it is ex parte communication.
Okay. All right. Well, I suggest we carry on with the rest of our agenda. So Sam, is it okay with you if we stay in here to do our executive session? You're the one who has to shuffle things, not us. So.
Madam Mayor, you have 2 hands.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Yeah. Trustee McGinnis.
I wonder if I can make a comment to the relationship between Mr. Brunner and the board and kind of Mr. Brunner and the rest of the town.
Okay.
It seems to me that in whatever response that the board crafts for Mr. Brunner, given the history of his communication, he's proven that he won't necessarily listen to facts that are displayed by the board. Quite frankly, he doesn't seem to trust the board. So anything we say, I don't think he's going to listen to. So I think communications that we craft for that individual, we should really be thinking, we should be thinking about how do we communicate to the rest of the people in the town. So not necessarily how do we get Mr. Brunner to see light because he's choosing not to, but how do we get the people around him to recognize the dysfunction that's there? And so I think getting into a squabble with Mr. Brunner about counterpointing him at every point that he missteps is perhaps not a valid use of our time. And instead crafting a message that builds trust with the community around him and not necessarily Mr. Brunner himself. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Trustee. Trustee Knudsen.
I just want to direct my comments to the mayor and whoever else composed that response. First of all, I want to express my own personal support for the staff and my confidence in the people that we have hired recently to run our various departments. I think we're really in a place that is very strong right now, and I really appreciate the staff that we have. I really think that it's not constructive for us to be engaging with Mr. Bruner on these types of things. If one's a citizen, he should be treated like any other citizen, not given special treatment, just treated like any other citizen. And to continually go down that path that distracts us from our core missions to try and turn the town around and build up the town really denigrates all of us. So I want to express my strong support for what was written, my strong support for Leslie as our interim town manager. She's done a fabulous job and really opened a lot of our eyes to what a proper manager does.
Thank you, trustee. Okay.
So I hate to say this, because I agree with everything that's been said, but I'm having a little problem that we're having this discussion as part of this agenda, which did not have an announcement section. I feel like we're off base to be having this right now when Mr. Bruner had no idea that this was going to be discussed. And we don't have an announcement section. We went from approval agenda to actions and presentations. So I feel like this is, I just feel like it's not a good use of this agenda.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Kuzma.
So I would agree with having further discussion about how to deal with citizens who are behaving in this way, with this conduct. However, Paige, we're directly responding to emails that were formed around this meeting. So I think our statements is responding to his comments about the meeting. But I do agree with you that I think, our conversation about how we can better put the town in light and communicate with our actual public would be a good one for the next meeting.
Yes, trustee Martin.
Okay, since we're talking about this, I think it makes sense to do what you said you were going to do rather than what we're doing now, because we spent 10 minutes having an argument with someone who's not here. So in the future, maybe we can just ignore him if you don't like what he says, rather than spending a lot of board time here. Beyond that, I think that we need to be very careful in how we phrase our language, because the public has a right to say absolutely anything that they want to, as long as, within the confines of the First Amendment. So, especially since we're conducting public business and we've sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution, I think it makes sense to allow people to speak as they wish and not try and treat them differently or like bothersome or try and restrict their language, as long as they're not making threats, or doing any like illegal speech. Let them write. And if we don't want to engage, don't engage, but don't waste our time.
Thank you, trustee Martin.
Yeah.
Yes, trustee Stover. Yes, Ms. Kuzma.
So I think that's, in my opinion, and Mr. Markle, I understand that this has been the board's policy in the past, is just to ignore this, but I don't think it's helped people. And if you were to direct me and the town attorney no longer to respond to these things, we would need to have a vote on that. And you would have to recognize that would be against my professional ethics. So I am going to protect the staff. It's not okay. People can say whatever they want. They cannot bully or harass the staff. And they can't demand that staff do things for them it's not in the ability of the staff to do. So, I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with it. And if the board were to agree with you, we would need something formally voted on to direct us to do that. And we would need to be able to file our own opinion in the record, because that's kind of a serious direction.
And I would like to mention as well, in Rules of Procedure, Resolution number 2017-10, it states public comment. Comment shall be directed to the mayor only, the presiding officer. Comments or questions should be confined to the agenda item or issues under discussion. The speaker should offer factual information and refrain from obscene language and personal attacks. And what Mr. Bruner has done has been personal attacks. And so he is clearly out of order by the resolutions of the town. So in the interest of time, I think we should move on and continue our meeting. All right, can we get a motion to go into executive session?
Yes, I move we go into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 24-64024E for the purpose of determining positions, developing strategy, and instructing negotiators relative to an employment separation agreement with the town finance director or treasurer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right, Sam, do your thing. I'm gonna close the back door here.
Okay, well, I hate to break it to you, but I'm gonna have to.
Never mind then.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know you were playing around with it and it didn't seem to be working, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're making you move again.
That's for you.
Good.
They told me I'll just have a year and a half.
You're dead?
No,
Okay,
and I'll be better.
okay.
Oh, my.
Apparently I can't. That's why. Your daughter and I figured out.
It's a very good.
We built. It is, that's excellent. No. Well, I was talking about the federal laws, which I think maybe Dave clarified a little bit. Yeah, well, there's always employment law, there's also always reasons for. There's always kinds of exposure. Yeah.
Oh, where did Tim go?
Chadwick changed the.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, we've lost our clerk, oh, no. All right. Bigfoot. Oh,
You almost lost each other.
no.
Oh,
No.
oh my goodness, we need those rubber things that you
No,
know.
yeah, once we
eventually.
get, we still have speakers for the room. And once we get those set up, then we're gonna devise the system for all the wires and get them all
Laid out.
buried or. I don't know.
Yeah, or the, you know, the rubber walkie over thingies.
Walking over things. I like the technical terms, yeah. Are we back to recording, Sam? Yes. All right, the time is now, oh wait, is it recording?
Yes.
Okay, the time is now 6:20 PM and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were trustee McGinnis, trustee Knudsen, trustee Markle, trustee Smith, trustee Stelter, trustee Valentine, Ms. Klusmeyer, and Mayor Beck. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Hearing none, I guess the next agenda item is a motion.
I can make a motion that we instruct the mayor to sign a separation agreement.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Further discussion from the board?
That the separation agreement become public upon the advice of the attorney.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, that motion passes. All right. I move to adjourn. Oh, I don't move to adjourn. I adjourn this meeting. Period. That's all. I have the power.
Can I make one more comment while you're there?
Yes,
So
please.
Mary didn't tell you the marvelous news
Oh,
that we
yes,
were
I forgot.
recommended for funding for our hydrogeology study for the Water Conservation Board and the Gunnison Roundtable. And
Yes.
we have an incredible team of people working on this, but Mary filed that application and we're going to get funded.
Yeah, it looks like so. I don't know if you stayed on the meeting long enough, but at the very end, they were discussing, did the state have enough money to fund all of those requests? And it sounds like the state does have enough money to fund all those requests. So its chances are really, really, really good we will get that grant.
Yep.
Good. Yay!
Thanks.
We have
The
3
incremental steps
taken care of. $7,000 in our pockets.
Support from the chairman.